What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of the Heir Flow Podcast. I'm your host, Ricky Thomas, and excited to be back here as we round out the Manifestation Rewritten series. This is episode 9, R.E.S.T, and R.E.S.T stands for Release Everything, Surrender Trustfully. And this is really the power of stillness in a manifesting world. Again, the whole purpose of this series was to really teach us all about how to manifest the things that we have been so long really been believing God for, and God has already provided it. So if God's provided it, how do you get to a place of manifesting those things if God's waiting for us to call them in? And so that's what this series is about. So again, as we think about what we've talked about in the previous 8 episodes, we've been dreaming, we've been shifting, clearing, feeling, acting, sowing, and waiting. And so now it's time to rest. But this isn't about being lazy. This isn't about just sitting around. This isn't spiritual stillness, because it's not just about a stillness. It's about a spiritual stillness that allows us to manifest, and allows the manifestation to really flow without force. So in this episode, we're going to flip the narrative that hustling is the only way to have it, because sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. And for some of us, that's tough. So let's talk about the sacred strategy of rest, where surrender is the strategy. So as we come into this episode, as always, everybody knows I'm big on acronyms. So, we talked about what rest is, and we're going to break down each one of those letters in rest, R.E.S.T. So we're going to start off with R, and R means to release everything. So when you think about releasing everything, sometimes that's the biggest challenge for us, especially those that really try not to rely on other people. It's hard for us to trust others, but this is about trusting our spiritual Father. And so when we talk about releasing everything, it's really releasing everything to God. And it's also, what are those things that we're holding on to that are really, they're anchoring us down. So it's letting go of what we're gripping. That's releasing fear, doubt, anxiety, and control, because you can't receive if your hands and heart are just full of resistance. And so when you think about it, you don't need to hold it all to have it all. And I think some of us, we're becoming, I don't want to say spiritual hoarders, but we're becoming hoarders of past pain, past situations, circumstances, relationships, and we're hoarding all of the emotions, all of the challenges that came along with it, and it weighs us down to the point where there's nothing else for us to be able to bring into our lives. We can't be poured into, we can't be filled with the right stuff because we're filled with so much of the past. And so we can't move forward. We can't get to that next place. And that's the challenge. And that's a huge challenge for a lot of us. And again, I raise my hand on this, myself included. It's challenging a lot because we always are shaped by we allow ourselves to be shaped by our experiences. Our relationships are shaped by our experiences. So if we have, positive relationships with the opposite sex, we build and we get into relationships with them, then, we tend to have good marriages or good relationships. If we have where our parents had a great relationship, we're taught that love, and we're taught what a godly marriage is about. 9 times out of 10, most people will be open to marriage. They'll be open to having those long-term relationships because they saw a healthy marriage. Relationships with siblings, again, a lot of those things are foundational. Relationships with friends, a lot of them are foundational things. But at some point, if we have a desire to go further in our relationships and go further in just what God has for us, we've got to understand that holding on to the past is not going to help us. So again, R is for releasing everything. And I'm going to say this, the quote again, and I think it's very important. You don't need to hold it all to have it all. So ask yourself, what are those things that you're holding on to right now? What are those things that you're holding on to from the past that you feel like you've got to keep in order to allow you to remember not to be hurt. Remember not to, remember to keep those boundaries up. What are those things that are holding you down? And just know that you don't have to keep those to have it all, to move on to the next place. It's hurting you more than anything. So that's R, which is release everything. The E in rest is to embrace the now. Embrace the now. And when you think about resting, it's really rooted in presence. So when you think about manifesting, we talk about, you talked about in the previous episodes about how you live in reverse. You're living like you're already there. You live like you're already at that place. You experience it, whether it's the new job that you want, it's the relationship that you want, the house, the joy. You live like you're already there. You're walking in it now. And that's what it means by, resting, being really rooted in the presence. It's not waiting on one day. And we talked about that. I've got an episode that I was going to do, and I don't think I ever finished it, but it's the variation or the thought of one day versus day one. Because when it's a one day thing, it's always, okay, yeah, I'll get to that point. Tomorrow I'll plan to get my mind right. As soon as I get my mind right, then I'll start the weight loss journey. As soon as I get my mind right, I'll do this, or I've got to have, a couple more days of just getting this out of my system, so it's always that one day, and you're always waiting on that one day and that one day. And the next thing you know, that one day doesn't come, or it takes something major in our lives to shift us from that one day to that day one. Like, I got to do it now. And so you can either be forced to do it, or you can make the decision, like, why wait? Why do if I missed the gym on Monday, why do I say, okay, I got to wait till next Monday to start over again? Because my routine is I go Monday, I do, these body parts when I work out. Tuesday is this, Wednesday is a rest or something. Why can't I just start it on Tuesday? Okay, I missed Monday, I'm just going to shift everything. Why wait? So when you think about embrace the now and really resting, it's not waiting on the one day. It's waking up to right now. Because our power to manifest exists only in the present moment. When you think about it, when you think of that thing, or you're thinking to it, that's right now. You're thinking of it right now. You're not saying at some point I'm going to start thinking like this. That's not how it works. And so when we really dig into what manifestation means, it's living in the now. It's the present. So if I'm resting now, I can rest now because I know, I can see the vision. I know that these things are waiting for me, and I'm just going to I'm going to continue to wait. And we talked about waiting before, but it's understanding that while I'm doing that, I'm praising God through it all because I know what's there for me. I see it. I see myself personally. I see myself not in my corporate job. And I said it before, I'm thankful for my job. But I see myself as being able to do more, have a bigger impact, where I'm not tied down to some of the things that have been challenging for me, but I understand the challenge is part of the process. There's purpose in the pain. But my desire is not to stay there. I have to get through this. So I have to understand, what is it that God is teaching me? And in these teachable moments, I'm learning more and more that once I can have the joy in my circumstances, once I can really see what it is and live that each day, like I wake up tomorrow or I go to sleep tonight, there's no anxiety because I have to get up and go to work. I get to get up and go to work tomorrow because I know that this is the beginning of the end in terms of the shift for me. Every day I get up and go, it's the joy of knowing that I'm one step further to where I want to be. Not looking at the circumstances, or I got a day full of meetings. That's not because that's looking at, okay, I have all these things going, but that's not what I want. That's not my desire. So if I want to manifest in to manifest the things that I truly desire, I've got to live in them. It's not a one day thing. Wait till this point, or when I get here. My wife and I, we say it a lot. And we catch ourselves a lot like, man, one day when we're rich, we want to do this. One day when we lose some weight, I'm going to go buy some clothes. One day, I'm going to clean out my closet once I lose the weight. So everything is predicated on all these other things to line up. I got clothes in my closet right now that are old that I need to get rid of. And the fear is, what if I got to wear these clothes? Because I don't want to go buy more clothes. I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to, get myself back in shape. Well, guess what? I'm sitting there holding on to things that I don't even want to wear. They're old, but I keep my closet full because I'm scared that I'll lose out, or, what if I lose weight? What if I don't lose weight? I got to wear these clothes. So I'm always thinking of, this one day or the past, and I'm holding on to this. It's a constant thing. So again, that's why my goal and my purpose in all of this is just to make sure that as I'm speaking to each and every one of you, I'm also embracing this. I can't wait. So the takeaway from Embrace the Now is really just understanding that now is holy ground. When you make a decision, you've got to act on it. When you say and you get that mindset of, I'm going to lose weight, you don't have to wait until tomorrow. You know what? I'm just going to pig out today, and I'm going to go all out. And then tomorrow I'm going to hit it hard. Once you have the idea, you've got to go. You've got to take it at that point. And so that's what manifesting is. Don't wait until you get to that point. God doesn't bless the giver once the person gets money and then they're going to decide to give. No, a giver is a giver because they're giving right now with what they have in their heart, and they give whatever they can. They give. So if God trusts you with little, he can trust you with a lot. So you won't change. People say, once I win the lottery or Powerball or I get rich, I'm going to do all these things. What can you do now? It may not be money for some folks. It could be just time. It could be energy. It could be using some of your talent where maybe you do it for somebody for free because they're in a spot of need. Now, your time is money, but you're using your talent to make up for that. And that's the blessing. It doesn't have to be that you have to be in a perfect situation before you can give. God doesn't call the equipped. He equips the call. So just remember that through the process. All right. The S in rest is surrender the outcome. So as we think about really going through this process, and I've mentioned this before, we are not responsible for the how. We just have to align. So, we provide the what and the why. And that's going to be the things that we desire, why we desire them. But we're not responsible for how they come about. We just have to align with God to say, you know what, God, whatever the outcome is, here's what I desire. However we get there is my belief and trust in you. And so understanding that rest is the trust that the vision will manifest without micromanaging the process. And that was probably more powerful than most people will catch initially. And I'm going to say it again. Rest is waking up to rest is the trust. Sorry, I was skipping around. Rest is the trust that the vision will manifest without micromanaging the process. And it speaks to me all day, because how many times have I gone through and I think like, okay, I want to buy my daughter a car, my wife and I want my wife to stay retired and not have to go back to a corporate job. I want to pay for my kids' tuition. And here I'm saying I want to pay for my kids' tuition in one check. That's my belief. And so I'm saying I want to do it. I'm saying I want to buy my wife a car. I want to pay for my wife a scholarship. I want to pay off these bills, pay off, man, we don't have a lot of bills, but pay off our house, pay off, one car note that we have right now. I want to pay this stuff off, but it's a lot of what I can do to pay them off. And so I'm not surrendering in the outcome. I'm not focused on the outcome. I'm just saying I want to be able to do this. And yes, I'm saying more of the who, but God can bless somebody that can give me the money. God can bless somebody or bless us to just say, hey, your school is paid for. And we got a whole I'm going to let my daughter give that testimony, but you don't know who God will use. And if you put God in a box, you're limiting what your outcomes are going to be versus really surrendering the outcome. The outcome is that my son and daughter are going to school debt free. No loans, just being able to go and have that ability to experience getting an education, getting a college experience and not having to worry about the money part of it. You just got to enjoy and you got to take the challenge of the educational part, but it's the social, it's all of that comes with it, but you don't have to worry about the financial struggles. Because that's the why for me. I don't want my kids to have to go through that. And yes, did I go through that? Yes. Did I have to get loans at part of my college? Yes. I had scholarships and I had to get loans. So I know what it's like. And people will say, well, that made me stronger as a person. But what if my faith was stronger than my actions? What if my faith was stronger than me trying to do it myself? And that's where you go to the surrender the outcome. See, when I was in school, before I got to college, I had faith to say, I'm going to get a full scholarship. That's how I got down to Tennessee State University. I applied for the engineering school. I got in. They sent me something that says, hey, we've got an engineering program, a summer program called ECI, Engineering Concepts Institute. And so I came down to TSU for that. And when I got down there, it was like, hey, you can get scholarships, and I'm like, I spoke it. I'm going to get a full scholarship. Came down here, blind faith is I'm going to get it. And it manifested. But I didn't continue to work in that because I got it, but I didn't continue to speak and let it play out. So, yeah, I had to get loans the last couple years, and it still wasn't as much as it could have been. But I didn't keep the process going. I didn't continue to focus on the outcome and just saying it's going to manifest. I don't care how it's going to manifest. So it was a lesson learned, and I'm trying to make sure that my kids understand that. Like, you don't have to struggle to embrace, to get God's blessing. You don't have to struggle to manifest things. There will be challenges. Everything comes with a test, but it's a test of faith, not a test of, are you going to go out there and break your back to do this, to say that you did it? Because that's not God. God didn't provide that. God is not telling you to go work 10 jobs. He may give you one job and say, if you get work on your faith, I can give you this one job that will cover all the money that you need, if that's your desire. And I'm going to preface this. I want to say this to make sure everybody understands. Everybody's desire is not necessarily to not work or not. Some people like work, and there is pride, there is respect in anybody who works. Just because I say I'm choosing to get out of corporate America and be able to have streams of income that don't require me to clock in doesn't mean that I'm just going to lay on the beach for the rest of my life and do nothing. Because I also have a God-given assignment to the kingdom, and that doesn't allow me to just sit on my butt. And we all have that. But when it comes to the financial needs, that is part of life. We have to be able to pay to live, to do things. But I don't have to toil with it. It's a decision. That what do I put my focus in? So I'm going to go back and I'm going to say it again. Rest is the trust that the vision will manifest without micromanaging the process. You do not have to micromanage. You don't have to sit there and make sure that every little key point is done. And for some people, that in itself is going to be what's going to release so much weight off of your shoulders, is just realizing that you don't have to micromanage the process. trust that God's got it. You gave him the what and the why. It's in your heart. You believe it. You're speaking it. You're living at that point every day. Just align with what the outcome is going to be. And I guarantee you, the outcome that God provides for you will far exceed what you thought your what and your why, what your what was going to do for your why. It will far exceed that. So just understand that surrender is not giving up. It's giving it over. And there is a difference. There is a huge difference. Just giving it, all you're doing is giving it over to God and saying, God, this is what I desire. Now I'm going to work the faith process. I'm not going to focus on how I can do it. So moving on to the final piece of it, of rest, is T. And T, obviously, is going to be trust. But it's not just trust, it's trust the timing. And that's very important. Trusting the timing of everything that God does is a challenge in itself, because we live in a ultra super microwave society. We used to say microwave society. I don't even think microwave is fast enough. We've gone from microwaves to air fryers to pressure cookers to anything how can we cook something fast and easy, even faster than a microwave? So imagine that. Trust the timing is understanding that divine alignment is never late. Divine alignment is never late. God is never late. That's why you always hear, you hear God may not come when you want him, but he's always on time. Why is that? Why people ask, like, why is that so? Because God knows it all. He knows when that point is. He knows when we're ready. He knows when the impact of the blessing is going to mean the best for you. It's going to mean the most for your life at that time. And so he positions it when he knows that everything is aligned to have maximum impact for the kingdom, for you, so that everybody can see, like, this is what faith in him gets you. That's why he calls for us to testify of the goodness, of his goodness. So again, just because you don't see movement, it doesn't mean that nothing's happening. And so many times we get to that. We get to that point. Like, I've been praying, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. And then what happens is when we think we don't see, or we don't see any movement in the physical sense, we try to go and figure out, okay, well, I got to jump in and do it myself. When I don't see things happening the way I want them to happen, okay, let's go do it. I'm going to go take care of it myself. I'm going to go get a second job. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to get a third job. I'm going to you start doing everything that distracts us from pointing towards him. We are truly becoming Peter, who got off the boat, initially was walking on water when he was focused on Jesus. And as soon as he took his eye off of Jesus, what happened? He went down. Now he's got to figure out how I'm going to swim, or how can I get back to the boat, or how can I do it? It becomes an I thing, a me thing, versus, Lord, help me. Put my eyes back on him and stay focused. So that's understanding that just because you don't see movement doesn't mean nothing's happening. Rest is the exhale of belief. Rest is the exhale of the belief. Are you exhaling that you believe? Where you're resting and like, okay. When you lay down in the bed at the end of a long day, one of the first things you do is you exhale. Why do you exhale? Because I feel, I'm in a place of rest. I know that what's getting ready to come. I'm in the bed. I'm going to finally go to sleep. I'm looking forward to this. Exhale and knowing God has got it taken care of. And so the quote from this one is, delay is not denial. Delay is not denial. It's divine design. So many times we think God is closing doors on us. God doesn't close doors on us. But sometimes he waits to open certain doors when we're going to be fully ready to walk into those doors. And we just have to go back to being aligned with the outcome. So back when we talked about in S, surrender the outcome. God's going to open the door. You may be questioning, like, is this door for me? And we would sit there and question it when we've seen so many doors close in our face. And that God will open that door. And we just got to trust that this time, when he opens the door, we just have to be willing to walk through it. And we've got to understand that just because you haven't heard back from that company that you've applied to months ago, just because you've applied through several jobs, doesn't mean that you don't have one waiting for you. Or you've applied to 1 million jobs, but God has been speaking to you in so many ways that this is the time for you to start that business. This is the time for you to go back to school. You've been tired of the career that you've been in, and you think that you are too old, or that it's too late for you to learn something else, or you can't afford to take a step back and change careers because you're making so much in the career that is driving you so insane and crazy because you know that it's more for you to do, but you've just been there for a while. You've been trying to figure out, like, why I've been wanting to leave this place so long. And God has been like, I've been speaking to you the whole time. You're just not seeing it because you're looking at your circumstance. If I leave here and go there, that means I'm going to have to take a pay cut. Who said you had to take a pay cut? Oh, because the job is offering that much. That's the job. The job is just a resource. God is your source. He's our source. So keep that in mind. Focus on what the outcome is. If God can put you in a place that you would love to be in, and he tells you, trust me, if he gives you a job, if he puts you in a position for a job that on paper, it may be $30,000, $40,000 less than you're making now, but he's got so much more waiting for you, because he may be bringing you to that place which is going to give you peace, where it opens you up to a new environment that allows you to be creative. It opens you up where you can rest, where you're not up stressed all the time, where you feel good, where you can come in there and still be productive. But when you get off of work, you've got free time. And that free time that you have now, you can build that business. You can build those things that you've been wanting to do. You can get your health back in line. Some of us are afraid to step away because we're like, oh, if I do this, I'm going to lose so much money. I'm going to lose this. I'm going to lose this. And God is like, I'm giving you this to walk away so you can have your health and you can be creative and you can really focus on him. And I'm giving you this peaceful environment. But some of us are so caught up in the money of it all instead of just trusting him. That one opportunity could catapult us to streams of revenue that were 10 times over what we made in the company that we're working for, and give us 10 times the peace, the joy, all the stuff that we've really been desiring. So, I don't want to, I've been harping on that one because that speaks a lot to me. And I've done that before where I've left jobs, or I've been wanting to leave a job and things didn't happen, or, I assumed things were going to happen. I had a job offer. They actually gave me the offer. And because I was so ready to go from coming from one of the jobs I was at, I was just ready to go. I was frustrated, and this job came, and this is right before COVID. And all of a sudden, they gave me an offer, and then things changed, and they withdrew the offer. And I was hurt then I stepped back and I realized, I said, you know what? This is probably for the good. It's probably for the good. It's probably for my benefit. COVID came, and, you know, those jobs were, that particular job was considered, it was considered one of those jobs, and the phrase slips my mind right now, but it was considered a job that you had to do. It was a required job. Like COVID, yeah, we weren't limited from COVID in terms of having to work remote. I would have had the ability to work remote, but essential worker, that was considered essential, so we had to be in the office to do the job. Long story short, I stayed where I was at. I was able to work from home, but not only that, the job that I'm in now, which is fully remote, came about. So you see, if I were to focus and stay focused on the hurt of the denial or getting that offer pulled, I would have missed where I'm supposed to be now. So that's why I've learned over time to just rest in God. So remember, delay is not denial, it's divine design. So as we close out, one, I just want to thank everybody for listening. I want to drop some reflection things on everybody. I want to drop three reflection points that I really want us to focus on. And it's important as we go through these three things, and it's really just questions. And it's really just take time and reflect on that. Do some self-reflection and just ask yourself, be honest. And then make an action. Make a play right then and there. Don't wait. Day one is greater than one day. So the first reflection prompt is, what are you still trying to force into manifestation? What are we still trying to force into manifestation? That's the first one. The second one is, where have you mistaken action for alignment? What does that mean? Where have you personally taken action to do something that you thought would drive towards what you're trying to manifest, versus hearing from God and letting your alignment with God's outcome and what God is wanting to do drive that? Think through that. Then the third one is, what would it look like to rest without guilt? I've got a personal experience with all of these. The third one is really one that I deal with a lot. What would it look like to rest without guilt? That one is challenging because I'll just say this. There are things that my wife and I have been talking about, and she's been working like frantically up for 15, 16, 17 hours. I mean, she's spending a lot of time working through this stuff. And if she doesn't, she's tired and she feels a certain kind of way because of being tired. And she will say, I feel like I have to do something. For me, same thing. I have to do something. If I'm not doing something, then I am not aligning with the process. I'm not aligning with the manifestation. And that is a total contradiction of what this is all about. Resting is resting in God and allowing your faith and building your faith. That's what the point is. So then the question is, am I spending more time doing an action that we think is alignment, or am I spending more time in God's word, in his presence, and in his alignment? And if the answer is, I spend more time with the actions that I think is what God wants me to do, or I think that I need to do my part, then you're definitely not resting. And that guilt of, I got to do something, is what's taking you over. And that may be what's limiting us from manifesting what we want. So I want to close out with an affirmation for this week, or just whenever you hear this, an affirmation to just take with all of us each day. And this one is, I release, I relax, I rest, because I trust the divine timing of my life. I don't chase what's already mine. I receive it in peace. I'm going to say it one more time before we close out. I release, I relax, I rest, because I trust the divine timing of my life. I don't chase what's already mine. I receive it in peace. How many of us are chasing what's already ours? Think about it. If it's ours, why do we have to chase it? Why do we have to chase it? Receive it in peace. All right, so as we close out, we've been doing all the work. Now let it work. The work that we've done in the past episodes, this one we're talking about rest. So we're going to let it work. Rest is not the absence of progress. It's the evidence of belief. So this is where the focus, I want everybody to focus, for the next bit. Make progress through your faith. Let your spirit breathe this week. And with that, we're going to get ready for episode 10. We'll close out this series. Episode 10 is going to focus on rise. Rise is realize identity, speak expectation. So this is where we awaken the power of who you really are. And then we speak from the authority of our truest selves. So you won't miss it. Trust me. I'm excited to do it, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands, kind of where we're going. So again, rise is realize identity, speak expectations. So I am so grateful for everyone. I pray that this episode and all the episodes of this series have been a blessing. I pray that you understand that God has so much in store for us. And the biggest thing that he wants us to do is realize who we truly are, understand the power that we have, and that he doesn't desire for us to work. The same desire I have for my wife to not have to work a job, but to focus on working through purpose. Same thing God wants for us. He's like, I've got all the stuff that they want, all the houses, the cars, the peace, the joy, all of that I have. All I ask is that they put their faith in me, 100% put their faith in me, not the job you currently have, not all the past relationships and think that that is how it has to be. No, I want you to focus on just believing and having faith in me. I will give you purpose, and I will give you everything that you desire. So with that, I thank you all. I bless you. I pray that this has been a blessing, and just stay tuned for episode 10 in this series. And then after that, I'm going to be open to where God takes me. I've got some episode content that I want to do. I've still got some interviews and some special guests that I want to bring on. And so my plan is to focus on more of those. Because it's always good to hear another voice and hear testimonies from people who are heirs. So as we always talked about, this podcast, this podcast is more than just the podcast itself. We've gone through a whole rebranding now, even with our social media, where Billionaire Flow has shifted to just be all airflow. There's no limitation. It's not just singling out from a money gain, because it's more than just money. It's truly walking in everything that God has for us. That's what makes us heirs. So I love you guys. Please flow in everything that God has created you to be. And until next time, flow on. Love y'all.